Good morning, hello, gentlemen, and the lady friends out there fishing on Lake of the Ozarks, Table Rock, Stockton Lake, Lake Taneycomo, Gasconade, Osage Beach, Osage Bagnell Dam, all the little tributaries, lakes, rivers, and ponds across the Midwest and the Ozarks. If you're not on the Co-Angler app, you better get on the Co-Angler app right now. Make a profile, request a trip, provide a trip, hook up with people all around the world. There seems to be a lot of people from the Ozarks jumping on there. What does that do for you? You get to link up with a like-minded fisherman, and they may be able to help you out. Like in my instance, I like to float the Big Piney. I need a shuttle sometimes. There's a few shuttle people, canoe rentals, etc. for the Big Piney, but you're on their timeline and you need flexibility sometimes. So you get on the Co-Angler app, you provide a trip, you link up with people. They might be able to just shuttle you. Jump in together, float, catch some smallmouth, catch some goggle eyes, catch a big old slaunch donkey, largemouth bass. So, speaking of slaunch donkeys, I have a Mo Bass Club. The Bassmaster Nation just had a champion from the Bass Nation. His name was Dylan Nutt from Tennessee, I believe. He fished his way through the Bass Nation and won the Bassmasters Classic. Isn't that awesome? That is awesome. So, 1994 was the last time a Bass Nation guy, Brian Kershaw, won the Bassmasters Classic through what was called the Bass Federation back then. So, first of all, congratulations to Dylan. He went through the avenues available to him, to anyone, to get up there, get in a Bass Nation qualifier, win it, I believe it was at Pickwick, and get to the Bassmaster Classic. So, congratulations to him, first of all, foremost. There's a lot of negativity on the internet right now about forward-facing sonar. It's just a scoper classic. Guys, it's been out there. It's part of tournament fishing at the moment. I will never, ever fault a person for using every resource out there to be a winner. If you can go with guides, this is way before forward-facing sonar was ever even a thing. If you can go with guides on a certain lake before the off limits, go with guides. If you can spend a month at a place before it goes off limits, go do it. They're bashing on him like, well, he's a 22-year-old, he doesn't have kids, all he has to do. The dude's still in college trying to get through college. I remember when I was in college, the only time I got 30 days to go somewhere to pre-fish was I made the 2004 Bass Federation Central Divisional at the Atchafalaya Basin. I was in between. I just graduated college. I got commissioned as a lieutenant in the Army through ROTC. I had about a month and a half from the time that I graduated college to the time that I started officer basic course at Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Maryland. If I didn't have that in between time, there is no way in Hades that I would be able to go somewhere and pre-fish for that long. But guess what? I had time to go down there for about a week before the tournament started. In fact, think we might have had almost 2 weeks. It was the most pre-fish time I've ever had in my life. and I had a terrific tournament. No, I didn't advance to the Bassmasters Classic, but at that time, I would not have been able to go to the Classic. So, I don't know Dylan's situation. If Pickwick is close to the college he goes to, which I think he goes to University of North Alabama, so yeah. So Pickwick would be close. If I was here in college and the Bass Nation qualifier was at Lake of the Ozarks, you dang right I'd be on the water all the time. If not every day, I'd go to class at Lincoln or I'd go to class up in Mizzou. Then I get my butt back to the lake just like I did in college. I probably fished more in college than I do now, and now I'm supposed to be guiding, which is a different story. Still trying to get my boat. They're working on my old boat. But I would have had the time to fish at that time dang near as much as I wanted to. I didn't have kids. I had to choose, do I want to hang out with my buddies? Do I want to mess around or go fishing? Thank God for fishing. Thank God for fishing, because if I would have been messing around a lot more, because I'm not saying I didn't, because I did, fishing probably really saved me to keep on track and do what I needed to be doing. In fact, everybody's hating on him. Daddy bought him a boat. Well, when I was in college, I mowed grass. I worked at Bullard Seed. I did odd jobs for farmers. I hauled hay. I had a part-time job at Mertens Bait and Tackle. I was doing anything that I could to put $1 in my pocket, and it all went to gas and boat payments and tackle and rent and just trying to survive. Thank you to everybody back then that helped me along the way, family and friends, because I don't want to say I was a mooch, but I was a mooch. Not in a bad way. I'm just saying, when somebody was cooking, I was around. When somebody had a place for me to lay my head down, I was around. The fire department, Southern Boone, they were a big help to me. I had places to stay during college, rent free, but I had to work for the fire department, just etc. like that. Anytime I wanted a new graph, Lawrence stepped up. I was on the Lawrence, I don't know if you call it a pro staff. Anyway, there was just avenues out there that I would get myself into to get a boat. Glenn Mann hooked me up with a Bass Cat in a way that I could sell my 16 and a half foot pro craft with a 90 horse on it that we fished big time tournaments in it all over, to get myself into a Pantera 2 that was fully capable of big time tournaments. In fact, I fished out of it when I went to the Atchafalaya. So there were people helping me out. There's people helping Dylan out. There's people helping everybody out there that you see that is successful at some shape or form. There's somebody on their team, whether it's a girlfriend, a wife, a parent, family, friends, all that, sponsors, partners. There's a team out there. Kevin Van Dam always gave credit to his team. There's a team, there's a tribe. So, no different with the Nut Brothers. Congratulations to them. Bassmaster, you have created this. There's a sort of I don't know how to describe this. It's not bad. It is different from when Brian Kershaw won in 94. Brian was in a club. Brian made it to his state tournament. Brian either won or went through the divisional somehow. That was the Northeast Division at that time. He made it through the divisional, which is probably one of the hardest tournaments to make it through in the world. Then he goes to the Classic, not once, twice. Not once, twice. I emphasize that because it is so hard to make it. Back then, it was so hard to make it. To get there and win, in my opinion, is different than what just happened. Because now we have the opportunity, all of us. I run a bass club in Missouri, and I say we do, but I'm the president of a bass club in Missouri called the Slouch Donkeys. Isn't that a cool name? We fish, mow bass, and we can go qualify to fish our state tournament. The state has a certain number of slots that they can send directly to the Bass Nation. Boom. That's an opportunity that we didn't have back when it was the Federation. Now the Bass Nation. Following me? We could not go straight to the nation championship. Now you can. So, for example, this year, I'm going to the Bass Nation Championship as a member of the Slaunch Donkeys as a co-angler because I placed within the top 5 of our state tournament. Now, if you don't do that, you have another opportunity. So, fifth, or so it would be 6th place through 13 or 15 goes directly to has the opportunity to go to the nation qualifiers. What the nation qualifiers are for the states to send a certain number of boaters and co-anglers to the nation qualifier, and then there is an opportunity for them in their division to go to the nation championship. There is also, just to add confusion to all of this, there's a way to be an at-large member, meaning I go straight to the Bassmaster website. I pick my state. I go to the Bass Nation tab, pick my state. I want to be an at-large member. You are paying your membership to the Bass Nation only. Cutting the state out. That's another issue. Cutting the state out of it. Although you have to pick a state. The state doesn't get your dues. You don't have to participate in a club in the state. You are going to essentially an open to qualify to go to the Bass Nation Championship. Now, think about this. There's 4 or 5 chances. I think this year it's 4 chances to do that. I can go to Tennessee here in a couple weeks. I can go to Toledo Bend in April. I can go up north. I can go all around if I want 4 or 5 chances to go to the Bass Nation Championship. I can go to these nation qualifiers. Is that fair? Is that fair to the guys that have fished a club all year, then they went to state, then they qualified for a Bass Nation qualifier, then they go, then they make it, then they go to the Bass Nation. Now I'm in the Classic. Is that fair? In my personal opinion, just to get to a point, I think it's saturated things. I think now that Dylan's won, that they're going to keep the nation qualifiers the way they are. I think that they'll probably keep some of the numbers in the Bass Nation Championship the same, where now the Bass Nation numbers are a lot. I don't know the total amount, but it's not like the old days where it was very prestigious to where there was 1 or 2 guys from Missouri, one from Texas, one from every state, every country that was allowed to fish: Japan, South Africa, Canada, Mexico. I believe Spain has a slot. Italy has a slot. Don't quote me on those. But the numbers were not big. 50 something, 60 some. I don't know the total numbers, but it was very prestigious to get to the Bass Nation Championship. If you made it in your division, then you were going to the Classic. The Central had a slot, the West had a slot, the North had a slot, the Northeast had a slot, the Southeast had a slot. So, we had these Bass Nation qualifiers qualifying anglers, and it was a pretty big deal. Sponsors jumped on board. Skeeter Boats had a nation team. You had state teams and you had nation teams. If you were in the top 6 in Texas, you were basically looked at as a pretty good stick. That was a big feather in your cap on the resume. I'm in the top 6. Sponsors jumped on board with that kind of stuff. If you're on a state team now, you might get your foot in the door to talk to some sponsors. Every state's different on that. That's a whole different subject. But it's not as prestigious as it was back in the day. So, again, to my point of what Kershaw did is different than what Dylan did. Not taking away from Dylan. His accomplishment is incredible. I'm just saying that it's different. So, what do we do now? There's a great podcast that Matt Pangrak did live on Bass Talk Live with GL Compton. GL is the director for the Bass Nation at Bass. He's the highest level at Bass for the Bass Nation. He's explaining the new process. Matt did a great job getting him on quickly and doing a quick podcast explaining this new process, because it's a little bit confusing, and then every year the numbers change. So Missouri can send a certain number based on membership. Texas, all the states' numbers change based on membership. The qualification is a little bit different. It's kind of hard to follow a lot of the times. I get questions on it all the time because a brand new member wants to join Bass. They join, they get the magazine. Now they're interested in a club. They get on the Bass Nation site. They try to read through it. They go to the MoBass site. They try to read through it. And they always have questions. It's not laid out perfect. It's hard to lay out perfect. It's hard for these states to lay everything out. And then, oh, by the way, when some people fish and then they get told they can't make it to the nation championship, that's a whole other issue also. Maybe they fish the MPFL. Well, oh, by the way, if you're a pro, that's not laid out anywhere that I found. If you're a pro, you can't fish the Bass Nation Championship. Okay, what's a pro? You fish the elites or the tackle warehouse circuit and above. Is the Toyota Series a pro? I don't know. Is the MPFL a pro? Yes, they are including the MPFL in that number. I get what they're trying to do, but they need to lay it out on the website and the rules clear as day. Black and white, I'm reading it. That's easy peasy, right? Not on the back end when people have paid their way to go fish state or paid their way to a nation qualifier and then told later. That's not when you need to find out. You've wasted time, money, slots. You've wasted a first place slot. There's only one person that held up our first place at our state tournament. Now he can't go. I don't like that part. So again, not taken away from Dylan. Congrats to him. It has changed. I hope that they sit down and revamp it. I want it to be more like the old days. I want it to be prestigious, to go to the Bass Nation Championship. I don't know what that means. I think decreased numbers are good. Even at a Bass Nation qualifier, just taking those handfuls to the Bass Nation Championship and only a few from each state, maybe two. That's it. If they want to keep it to where you can go there from the state tournament, only let the winner of the boater and the winner of the co-angler go from the state, and only the winners and the co-anglers from the qualifiers. That's it. Then your numbers are still over 100 then. So if you have two from each state, minus Alaska, Hawaii is in a bunch, so you can't leave them out. The countries, there's like 13 countries. So 100, you're still looking at 150 boats if you do two. I'm not going to do math in public here out loud, but let's get it under 150, not 250, and let's make the slots prestigious in the classic, because that is another sidebar. It's a whole nother sidebar that you could have if you get an old timer that has fished the elites for a bunch of years, who has fished the elite series all year long, made the classic, and then who's this guy? Who's this guy from college in the classic? Who's this guy from the nation in the classic? That could be another sidebar. Do I think the college kids need to be in the classic? Me personally, and again, my opinion doesn't amount to crap. Yes, I think that it gives them such a big opportunity that they need to be in it. I could also see a huge argument of why they shouldn't be there. If we've created this mess with bass, do the Bass Nation guys need to be in it? Yes, because we've created this mess and gotten too long. Would I be disappointed if Bass goes, you know what? We're going to have a championship for the college guys and for the Bass Nation to have their own championship, and then they can decide if they want to go into the elites or not. I would not be disappointed, or I would agree also that would be an option. The reason is it's fair to the elite anglers. The elite anglers go into all their tournaments throughout the year. I think in a perfect sporting format, that it should be the tournaments throughout the year, the classic at the end of the year, whether that's August through December, I don't care when. I know a lot of reasons why. That's another sidebar conversations that it is when it is, but for a sporting purpose, I think we should have the elite tournaments, and then the classic with just the elite anglers, and then that is a more fair way to do it. I think it gives our sport legitimacy, and I also think that a lot of the old timers would, they would, we would probably have a lot of the old timers more interested in it. I also see Bass's side of the young guys are the new people coming into the sport. So they Definitely Bass is catering to the young crowd, the high school crowd, the college crowd, the opens crowd. Um, it's another sidebar is the opens. So my point to all of this is if you're interested in the Bass Nation, do your homework. Try to figure out what your goals are as a fisherman. It is an opportunity. That's why I still do it. It's fun to fish in my club. That's why I still do it. I wish the club participation was up so we could have club tournaments like we did in the old days that were a huge deal for new fishermen, huge deal as working together and learning and still chumming it up with your buddies. Gave us local guys something to look forward to. Now we have so many tournament circuits that there's no time to do a bass club and then AIA and then OMTT and then Heartland and then Joe Bass and then Just Fish Team Trail and then all the opens and then the wet spot tournament and then mid lakes and then the other clubs and then the list goes on and on and on and on. There's no way to fish them all. And I like pretty much all of them. There's no way to do that. I didn't even mention BFLs and Toyotas. So, where do you want to fish? What's your goals? What are you doing? Look into the Bass Nation. If you're interested in a Missouri Bass Nation club, I do have a lot of information on that. So, hit me up. Email me at jared.h.shelton@gmail.com. It is Jared Shelton Fishing on all the social media platforms. I've been rambling. I don't know how much feedback I'll get on this because I thought there would be a lot of impact on Matt's podcast. Go to Bass Talk Live. Check him out. Voice your opinion down there. What do you think? My hat's off to the Nut Brothers. They kicked ass this past week. You're going to see a lot more of it. Thanks for listening. Pose.